What's up, everyone? My name's Lachlan Puri. Welcome to Author on Author Interviews. Today, I'm joined by Rae Knightly, an indie author from Canada who's published 7 young adult novels, 6 of which are part of a sci-fi series titled the Alien Skills series. As always, if you guys enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, if you'd like to find out more about Rae and these videos, you can find our socials below. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Rae Knightly. Thank you very much for joining me today, Rae.
Hi, well, thank you very much for having me here today. It's great to see you.
Awesome. So as I like to do in my other interviews, I'd like to ask a couple of questions about you as an author before we start kicking on your novels. To start off with, when and where were you first inspired to become an author and really start getting your work out there?
Well, quite a long time ago, about 20 years ago, I would say, when I was a teenager, a long time ago. And my school was opposite a public library. And so I would spend a lot of time there. They had a great section for middle graders and teenagers, young adults. And so I would get a lot of books from that library. I would devour them, and it really made me want to write my own stories. But it took a long time before I was actually able to accomplish that, because I guess I needed to feel more mature and have more control over writing a whole story. And so, it took a while. Also, the internet was a major reason I was able to start writing seriously, because you can find all the information you need on there, and obviously you can self-publish as well, which is what I do.
Yeah, awesome. So tell us a bit about your background. Did you grow up in Belgium?
Yes, I was born in Belgium, and I traveled quite a lot. So I lived in Africa, in Mexico. I spent some time in Arizona, in Scotland, and I ended up here in Canada, and I kind of stayed. And so I've been here for 10 years now, near Vancouver on the west coast of Canada, in the province of British Columbia.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So how has writing progressed for you over the years? Have you ever started a novel and decided to drop it in pursuit of another idea?
Well, definitely when I was a teenager and I was trying to write down my ideas, so I wrote down a lot of story ideas, and maybe I try writing the first chapter, a couple of chapters, but I'd give up, and it wouldn't go, like the characters wouldn't do what I wanted them to do. And the story would go all over the place. So I did hop from one story to another, and I never actually finished anything. But that idea that I wanted to write something was always there in the back of my mind. And about 4 years ago, I finally managed to come around and really finish a whole project. So in that way, my writing improved a lot, because my main aim was to write a complete story from A to Z, so beginning to end, and that was a major breakthrough for me.
Very good. So you've mentioned sort of like how you've gone from teenage years to adulthood, and you've sort of developed as you've grown older, you've sort of developed the skills necessary to create the book. Could you tell us a little bit about what life experiences developed your writing?
Well, for starters, so because I'm from Belgium, my mother tongue is French, but I would read in English all the time. I would just read in English, and writing a story in English also came naturally to me. But obviously, I needed some time to perfect the language. And so I'm actually a translator. I have a bachelor's degree in translation. And so
Awesome.
studying languages was extremely helpful for
Yeah,
me
definitely.
in terms of vocabulary, grammar, and getting a better handle on the language
Yeah.
and being able to express things the right way. And again, I mean, I couldn't do it without the internet again, because as soon as sometimes a word will pop up in my brain in French, and then I can just quickly look up the translation.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
the internet is a very important support for me, and I obviously rely a lot on my editor and beta readers. So
Yeah.
all that has been very helpful. Yeah.
Very good. So, was there a particular event in your life that inspired you to write science fiction novels?
Well, I would say probably growing up. So I grew up in Southern Africa, where I had access to amazing night skies. So, you know, you can see the
Yeah.
Milky Way
Yeah.
in a way I've never seen it again.
Yeah.
So because of light pollution, everywhere I've lived after that, you know, there was too much light pollution.
Yeah.
And I thought, gee, I want to be an astronomer.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I discovered that that implies a lot of mathematics, and
Yeah.
that kind of burst my bubble.
Yeah.
But so yeah, I went in a more artistic route as a writer, and that's where I'm kind of expressing that awe and that wonder I had for those night skies, and it just makes you wonder what else is out there. So.
Yeah, that's great, right? I love that. So in the science fiction genre, is there a particular theme or setting that you like to focus on?
Well, I'm not exactly hard science fiction, military science fiction. I'm more geared towards, you know, borderline fantasy, superheroes, superpowers.
Yeah.
So I like my characters to be, I still like my characters to be grounded on Earth.
Yeah.
But they're kind of looking out at, oh, what else is out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they kind of find adventure. You know, they step out of the door and they get swept away into adventure. So yeah, that's what I like to focus on. I like my characters to have a normal life. And in the case of the Alien Skills series, my main character, Ben Archer, is a 12-year-old boy, just a normal boy, and he gets sucked into an alien adventure, first contact adventure.
That's awesome. Yeah. So this is a an important thing to know as an indie author. You know, we've got jobs on the side, we're doing writing, we're sort of trying to make things work for us. How do you manage your writing, particularly as an indie writer? And do you prefer to write early in the morning or late at night?
Well, it's been a challenge, especially these last 2 years with COVID, and I have 2 young children, so they were home. So basically, you know, my family was home, and so there were a lot of interruptions, and it was hard to find a balance. So my sweet spot would be, I would say, between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. So I would just sit down, and I wouldn't be interrupted, and I would just go deep into the story and just get those words out. So, I mean, I can write in the morning a little bit as well, but my focus isn't as good. And I like to get my stories out on paper, so to speak, from beginning to end. So I just type those words out. Straight.
Very good. So this is a little bit different, this question, but I ask it with each author, and it's a little bit quirky. I like it. So final author related question. If you could do something during your young adult life to become a better writer, what would you do?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, probably read more. Simply the fact that, you know, just reading is very inspirational and very rewarding, and it gets, you know, the imagination going, and obviously you absorb a lot of writing techniques and vocabulary. And so, I mean, I think it's valid for any age. Just read more.
Yep, definitely.
And I mean, just
definitely good advice.
yeah, I mean, talking to other authors is also extremely helpful.
Yeah.
Connecting with them and finding out what works for them. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Connection is everything nowadays.
Yeah.
So getting on to the Ben Archer series now. When and where were you first inspired to write the first book in this series?
That would be about 5 years ago. I came up with the idea. And again, up until then, my major problem was that I just couldn't finish a manuscript.
Yeah.
That was my toughest issue. And so I used to travel. I had an office job, and so I would travel to work, and I'd be stuck in traffic for 40 minutes and I'd be bored.
Yeah.
And so I thought, okay, I have to write something. And I thought I'll just write a quick novella, something simple.
Yeah.
Just pick some elements, pick a character, pick a situation, and just write about it quickly, easy, but get it done. That was my aim.
Yeah.
And so that's how I came up with Ben Archer. And so I knew it would be, I picked a character, it would be a 12-year-old boy. And then I knew he would be faced with a fantastical being. Yeah. I didn't know if it would be fantasy or science fiction. Yeah. I went with fantasy. So he's meeting an alien. And then from there on, it just grew and grew and grew. And once I got that first manuscript done, after that, everything just kind of flowed.
Definitely. So did you plan out this series, or did you just sort of sit down and let it rip and let your creative mind do its work?
I knew and this is for all my books, I knew where book 1 was going and most of book 2. So I knew where I was headed, and I mostly know beforehand. I do quite a lot of plotting beforehand. So I determine where the story is going. I determine the names of the characters and the locations so that I don't get interrupted in my writing trying to find a good name for a character. So that really helps me. And the first 3 books, I had them pretty much planned out. But it was only at the end of book 3 that I came up with books 4, 5, and 6. So those came later. And my aim again was with book 1 was just to write the book. It didn't matter to me if it was a good book or a bad book. I just needed to get the words on paper. And once that was done, I just went over and I edited 1,000 times, but at least I had something to work on.
Awesome. So were there any particular artists or writers that you look to while writing these books for inspiration?
So I was mostly inspired by books I read again as a teenager. So I wrote down some of the names that I really enjoyed. I loved Susan Cooper's The Dark is Rising. And then Monica Hughes was a science fiction author. She wrote Ring Rise, Ring Set, and Earth Dark. And I also enjoyed a book called Stranger with My Face. I don't remember the author right now. She also wrote I Know What You Did Last Summer. Which has been turned into several movies, I think.
I think I've seen that movie.
I really enjoyed those as a teenager.
Awesome. So talking about the Ben Archer series, tell me a little bit about the themes in this series. What type of feelings are you trying to evoke from your writing?
Well, my first and foremost aim is to entertain
Yep.
and just give the reader a break from real life and just take them on an adventure and you know, let them have fun and feel a whole bunch of emotions. And then and what I do try to obtain as well is at the end of the book, I want the reader to put the book away and leave the room still imagining what's coming.
That's great.
So I want their own imagination to work and okay, so if I were to continue writing this book, what would happen? And often I will end a book with a kind of slightly open ending. To invite the reader to continue imagining what's going to happen next. So at the end of book 6, for example, Ben Archer says, well, we're no longer alone. I mean, there are people out there who will be willing to help us. And I'm basically speaking to the reader and saying, okay, how would you help? You know, what would you do?
Yeah, that's great.
So things like that. Yeah.
So did you find that you changed at all while writing this series? Were there any new things you discovered about yourself in the process?
Well, probably, I think the most valuable thing I learned was to not be afraid of my own imagination.
Yeah, exactly.
So, because putting out your first book, you know, putting it out there to the world is terrifying.
Scary, I know.
I found it terrifying. And you don't know what people will think. Will they like the story? Will anybody read it? Is it worthy enough? Is this a good story? You know, is my writing good enough? And so that was really scary. And so I will always remember one of the first reviews I got from somebody I didn't know, a reader I didn't know. This reviewer said, the story is great, I love it, but this book is in serious need of editing. And I think I got 3 stars. And I was absolutely thrilled because I couldn't do anything much about the story itself because that comes from me. But I can absolutely work on the editing. I can edit 100 times over and improve the writing. So that was a sign for me that, okay, it's okay. I can keep writing. I can I can dig deeper. And as reviews came in and they were good and people were happy, that obviously strengthened my, you know, that kind of calmed my fear.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, and so that made me less afraid of digging deeper into my imagination and putting things out there.
So this next question ties very closely to what you've just said, but it's important for writers to think about it. So I know from experience that all writers go through a period of self-doubt. How have you continued on writing despite feelings of self-doubt?
Well, there's this one phrase that I read somewhere. I'm not sure where it comes from, but this is, to me, very powerful. You don't have to please all the readers in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
You just have to find a small group of people who are tuned into what you write. And just write for them, you know.
Exactly.
And it's so logical. I mean, you have people who love romance, you have people who love fantasy, you have people who love historical fiction. And I mean, my dad loves reading National Geographic, right? So I'm not going to give him a fantasy book. He's like, no, what is this? I don't need this. You can't force that on somebody. So your only task as an author is to just find your target readers and readers who enjoy what you write, and that's fine. So if you get a bad review, it probably means your book ended up in somebody who doesn't usually read this genre. So that's fine. it's
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what would you like people to take away from your Ben Archer series? How do you want them to feel at the end of these stories? You touched on it a little bit, but I think we could expand a little bit.
Well, sure. I mean, so I obviously want them to put the book away, saying, feeling satisfied
Yeah. Yeah.
that they read something that was emotionally strong and that was full of
Mm.
adventure. And
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't say this right out, but in fact, the whole Ben Archer series has an underlying message, which is that, yeah, we need to take care of the environment.
Yeah.
So I mean, Ben Archer travels all over the world, in space,
Yeah.
underwater, under the
Yeah.
ocean.
Yeah.
So he faces all kinds of situations that humans have
Mm.
provoked, which
Yeah.
are not very good.
Yeah.
And so there's this, and he's trying to figure out, okay, what can I do about this? Can I help?
Yeah.
And I think that's a message I'm trying to send, because I mean, most of us are busy with our lives and
Mm.
going to school, going to work,
Mm.
seeing friends and family, and this is again taking the reader away and sending them under the ocean, and it's like, gosh, what's actually going on there? We're
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of destroying the coral reefs, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, and then he goes to the Amazon rainforest, and there's a fire, and it's like, yeah, these things aren't
Mm.
good. They're not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah.
That's great, Ray. Um,
Yeah.
so in terms of feedback you've been getting from audiences so far, and you touched on this a little bit, but could go a little bit deeper again. What type of feedback have you been getting? And has there been a certain audience that have loved your books?
Well, it was actually really difficult. The first 2 years were really hard for me because I
Mm.
was reading for specifically upper middle graders, so between 10 to 14-year-olds.
Yeah.
It's like people who read Harry Potter and Percy Jackson,
Yeah.
which actually range from children to adults,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
ages.
Exactly.
So I mean, my books were geared towards that age range,
Yeah.
but I didn't know whether children were reading my books because children aren't allowed to leave reviews. So I
Yeah.
didn't know who was reading my books.
Yeah.
And I was getting a lot of reviews
Yeah, that'd
from
be tricky.
people age 55 and over.
Yeah.
And so I was a little bit confused at first. But now, I mean, the series has over 1,000 reviews on Amazon, and
Mm.
everything, and it's going really great. So
Mm.
now
Mm.
I know that parents are reading with their children.
Yeah. That's right.
People over 65 are enjoying them. So there's a wide range of readers,
Mm.
probably, I would say, who are young at heart and who enjoy clean adventure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So they seem to be enjoying it very much. So I'm super happy. I'm I'm very happy with all the feedback I've been getting. I've been very lucky that way.
That's great, Ray. I love that. You've been killing it, getting great success.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
So now that we've gone over your books a bit, you got to tell us, are you planning on releasing a new book sometime soon? And if so, could you give us a little bit of insight into this book?
For sure. So in November last year, I released my first young adult dystopian novel. It's called The Knowledge Seeker.
Yeah.
And it's been going really well as well. So this is kind of an older age group. And so it was something new for me, but I was really happy with it. But now I'm probably going back to older middle grade, and I'm writing a series called The Lost Space Treasure, and it's loosely related to the Ben Archer series.
Oh, great.
It has the same point of origin,
Mm.
and it's kind of a Star Wars atmosphere,
Awesome.
you know, a galaxy far, far away.
Yeah.
And yeah, my main character is the key to one of the greatest treasures of the galaxy. So that's the plot.
Awesome. I love it already.
Yeah, there you go.
So finally, could you share with us how people can get in contact with you and get a hands-on copy of your books?
For sure. So you'll find me on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, even TikTok. I'm trying. I'm really trying.
Doing that.
So just look for Rae Knightly. And I also have a website under that name, www.raeknightly.com. I don't know if I need to spell it out, or I guess you'll see my name in the video
below, so people don't get lost.
So
yeah.
There you go. And my books are available in ebook, paperback, hardcover, and some of them in audiobook version on Amazon, on Audible, and then they are also available at your local bookstore. You can order them there. If you don't want to go through Amazon, that's what you can do. That's
great. Well, Rae, thank you so much for joining me. Your knowledge and everything you've been doing is great to hear. Yeah, it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Yeah, same here. Thank you so much.
For everyone watching this video, if you haven't already, remember to check out the social media links below that Rae just mentioned. I'll put everything she just said in there. Also, if you'd like to meet other awesome writers and learn about their journeys and how they've developed as people and as writers, don't forget to subscribe and like. But thanks heaps, guys. I'll catch up with you soon. Stay safe. Take care.